Go now.
Time flies.
Yeah, sit forward a little so we're not so we match a bit.
There you go.
I'm here with Bryan Roschetzky, the drone pilot extraordinaire, and really he's more of a photographer. He does good work. Good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If
How's
you've
everyone
seen
doing?
if you've seen his photo work, it is absolutely beautiful. So yeah, he loves doing that. Get us some thoughts and comments in there early so we know what the hell we're supposed to talk about. But what we're going to talk about for sure is Investor Day. What was the most exciting part to you?
I think the most exciting part for me was seeing a few of the Easter eggs, the hairpinned motor, hairpinned production of the motor, and possibly the new way that they're going to be producing the train in multiple parts. I think that's genius. I think that's what a lot of people were hinting at with the Terracasting and the way of trying to build the entire car in one piece. And I think that's kind of where it went, is just to put the car together. And the way he's used, the way he talks about using the three-dimensional space around each car, it's genius.
It seems
Around
so
each
simple.
part.
It seems so simple. Well, we were talking about this with some folks yesterday out at Starbase, I think, where we were saying how if I asked you to design a car and you didn't know what a car was, you would start with first principles and you would probably come up with what they've got now, what they're looking forward to in the future, where all the other car companies are still not they're still stuck in their legacy ways from 100 years ago, which makes no sense. The one thing I saw a lot of people speculating on was that that the whole car would be cast as one piece.
Sure.
But that would negate the benefits of a structural battery pack, and your battery still needs structure. And also you can't cast a hollow shape because you guys still have to open the casting. But it's interesting, anything in that regard. What are your thoughts about Giga Mexico?
Giga Mexico. I have said this many times. I feel that, if you look at the slide, the two cars that were under the blankets, I feel like they seem to be going in a pretty logical left to right. And the car that's to the left seems to be a van, and the car to the right seems to be the compact. The numbers above them also seem to relate, I feel, to what you would think for those two things. And I feel... I could totally be wrong, but I feel that Giga Mexico is where the van would be produced. It's only going to have 2 seats, right? It would have less seats. It would be easier to produce. It goes with Tesla's mission of reducing more greenhouse gases. There's more transportation. There's more commercial, use for the van. And I feel that my number 3, I guess my last point on that is that it wouldn't Osborne any of their other models either. It would be a new segment, and it wouldn't Osborne any other models. Instead of the compact coming out now, then you have that Osborne effect. So,
on the Model 3. Yeah, that would cut into 3. So you think it would only be 2 seats? I do think it would have more variations.
Sure, it can have variations.
More seats.
Sure.
And Andrew asked where,
Sure.
and I think Bryan and I are in agreement that would be a product for Mexico. There is, if you look at the renderings, there are two buildings. Yes, exactly, Andrew. Separate factory for van and compact. If you look, there's 2 buildings. I think one would be the compact and one would be the van.
Interesting, yeah.
And I think the van, and I've said this a million times, would be for cargo, like the Bright Drop or the Rivian van. It would be for passenger, but it would also be for the boring tunnel. I think it would be all of those things. Do you expect the cost savings to materialize as they iterate and refine, or immediately? In Mexico, immediately. It would be immediate, don't you think?
What was that question? Cost savings?
The cost savings. Would they inch in, or would they just all be there all at once?
I don't know. It's hard for me to get into details like that.
Sure.
Sure. Like, they already have so much of their supply chain, and they have so much of this down that it seems that each iteration that they go for is going to be, faster build, better margins. They seem to just know what they're doing and learning from each step. So I don't see why it wouldn't at least be marginal, slightly better than what we've seen at Giga Texas or Shanghai.
So I'm agreeing with you on that. The modularity, Tech Fixer in the chat knows all about this. Make things, put them together, modular assemblies make sense. He knows all about it, and I won't say why, but it's because he's got some idea what's going on. But but putting them all together in pieces makes sense. Once you've got that, you can have a slightly smaller battery. It's a little lighter. Yes, it's a little lighter in weight. And then you don't need as expensive of tires, as expensive of wheels, as expensive of suspension and brakes. And really, if once drivers are accustomed to one pedal driving, the best brakes are no brakes.
Yeah.
And how long have you had your Model 3?
I've had it for 6-7 months now.
And what maintenance have you done?
There's a lot of maintenance. Let me think about it. There's
had
lots
8 oil
of maintenance.
changes.
Yeah.
Right?
No maintenance whatsoever.
None.
I had my only service interaction with Tesla is questioning things, asking things, getting a quote over the app, which seems to be, it works. It's not the best system, but it works, and I actually like doing it whenever I want to. So if in the middle of the night I have a question and I want to ask how much a cabin air filter is, then when I wake up the next morning, there's my quote, $58, which actually I feel is pretty inexpensive.
For how big it is.
Yeah, I did it. I ended up doing it myself. But the only time I had to go into Tesla service was to upgrade my full self-driving hardware to hardware 3.
Nice.
From 2.5, which I will point out a negativity on that note is that I did purchase my vehicle used from Tesla with full self-driving beta included, but I got the car with 2.5 hardware, which seems, strange that you would have thought they would have thought that prior to handing it over to the next customer that was buying it specifically for FSD. But the process of the upgrade was free and so easy that I don't even think it bothered me.
And I think my thought on that is that they didn't know which buyers wanted which ones were
how long it was in between being sold and being repurchased.
Because if you put it on all the cars, it'd be overkill and a cost that may not make sense in the longer term. So while we're here doing this, get your comments and questions in. I need a couple of thumbs up just so I know we're not screaming into the void here. Fail faster.
Responding to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm a little laggy over here, Brian.
Yeah. For those unaware, Jeff Songster in the chat is about 12 feet away from me.
Hey, Jeff.
I do wonder of Boring Company will be a major operation, but I do think it has promise to be useful. So Jambe, I have got, and Jambe, you're in Oregon. We should visit sometime. I'm only an hour north of Portland. I've got some inside scoop on, it's a little bit blurry. Did you hold that for me? I know, but we can make it a little nicer. It's really not. It's mostly the filthy lens. Yeah, it's still pretty bad. I apologize. I've got some inside scoop on Boring Company. I met with someone who lives next door to it, and I did an interview, and it's kind of a more involved piece, but if you want to get an early gist, his name is Chap Ambrose, and you can look him up. He's only got a few videos on the subject, but he is a concerned neighbor with a good cause. We got a couple likes, so I guess that means somebody's paying attention.
Somebody's out there.
I have liked. Good. Oh, hello, Anthony. Good to see you. Did they say where they're building the Optimus? I did not hear an answer to that question, but I'm going to say, it might be in Palo Alto at the old HP headquarters in the engineering place. Tech Fixer. Energy is going to explode, in my opinion. Do you think Powerwall will go both ways?
Will go both ways?
Do you mean bi-directional back onto the grid?
Oh, that has to be it.
It has to be. If you mean that, because
I was like, that was my first guess, or commercial and retail.
I mean, we did meet your wife, Todd, but absolutely 100%. The limiting factor on that is whether or not the grid, the utility operator will allow it.
Yeah.
Meet you at Mountain Hood Cabin.
I live in Texas, and I could not get Tesla Energy at my house because I live in Georgetown, Texas, which is not, I believe, retail or deregulated.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there's still some hurdles that they have to overcome, I think, locally and in different municipalities.
Yeah. And different ones have these weird little protectionist rules that kind of make no sense. But they will all eventually get on board. I don't want to buy your solar. I don't want to buy energy from you. But at some point, I have to. Or I guess you guys could go out and spend 100, 200 million on a mega pack to offset or remove one peaker plant, which is a big deal. He did briefly mention boats and planes. I don't
It's
think
in there.
It's in there. I don't think that's part of the plan just yet. What do you think on that?
Yeah, that's far out. That's definitely far out. But I feel the boat's coming first over the plane.
Yeah,
And a Tesla boat would be pretty amazing.
it would have to be.
It would be a cyber boat, right?
It'd be a
Stainless steel, wouldn't rust me, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe figure
Well,
out.
if-
Maybe
maybe the
it wouldn't
weight,
be stainless
I don't
steel.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
This is interesting, though. This is interesting.
Chandra Das, hello. The even for a little speedboat, you just put in a plaid power pack
Yeah.
and maybe even a plaid motor.
But are they thinking bigger? Little speedboats aren't truly going to cut down emissions on the sea. The only thing that's going to cut down emissions on the sea would be a cruise ship.
Oh yes, yes.
I mean,
That's
how
good.
big can they go?
Oil tanker.
This is Tesla. They're
Oil
not
tanker.
Tesla. I mean, maybe Tesla would start out with something that is higher margin, maybe, and maybe like a speedboat or a small luxury boat would be. But it seems that if your mission is to cut down emissions and to cut down pollution, then it would be a large boat.
Yeah, we got to wait for battery density, I think, and cost to catch up.
Yeah.
Because we were doing some math on what it would take to replace diesel fuel for a diesel electric train. And we said, well, what if you put 2 or 3 cars of megapacks? And the math we came up with was that each megapack only replaces something like 150 gallons, maybe.
200, you said, I think.
Well, a diesel locomotive uses 200 gallons per hour.
Wow.
And it's about 1 gigawatt hour per, well, it's a semi. So that would be per, 50 gallons, 80 gallons? So it would be, so each megapack would replace about 300 gallons. So each megapack would get you an hour and a half. So I don't know. I got to make sure my numbers are right. Oh, yeah. Andrew points out they do have some battery trains in the UK. There are the catenary lines with the overhead. Those work. There's the third rail. But for intercity, it becomes cost prohibitive to put copper over, 10,000 miles of rail. So that becomes an issue. One thing we were thinking about yesterday, we were driving back from Brownsville, and there is so much wind power out there. It is thick with giant turbines. One of the concerns with the giant turbines is that they do still use rare earth elements in the motors, in the generators, in the electric motors. Could this new rare earth element free electric motor design scale up to something like that? Could Tesla start making the turbine motor, the turbine generator, or at least license the tech or something like that to be able to make efficient wind turbines that don't use rare earth materials? And remember, rare earth materials aren't rare, they're just rarely mined. They're abundant, they're just expensive. And so, well, yeah, but they all come from China. No, we've let China dig up all of theirs first. If there was some total world war where every nation had to depend on their own stuff tomorrow, a lot of countries would still have these materials. They would just be less cost effective to mine them than by having the fine folks in China do it for you. How is the visit to the lithium plant? We did not get out there. We looked at all the pictures online on the way out there, Andrew, and determined that it would just be a pile of dirt. Yes, Jeff's got that already.
Oh, so it's not constructed yet.
So yeah, we didn't even bother.
It's
swinging by.
pretty close to where my mom lives, and I really need to go visit my dad. So I should be trying to give it a shot pretty soon. Yeah.
Even when Sandy is sober, he would be excited. He would still be excited about the new engine design? I absolutely agree. Sandy's an engineer. He's an engineer's man.
Mm-hmm.
So putting copper over the rails, going over the mountains would allow great regen on the downhills. Absolutely, it would. Come on, stop that. Don't do that.
Yeah, other side.
Giga Mexico will create buses first for its employee transportation. I don't know. I don't think it will, because there's a lot of cases where I thought that they would do something like that first. Like I thought they'd make that a boring tunnel specific design would come first. I thought things for use around the lot. Jeff said
Yeah, they use buses at Giga Texas.
Fremont, was it you that had to ride around Fremont in a Model X that never made it out of production, and it was just like a shell or something? Oh, that must have been someone else.
Crazy.
Yeah, they were using a half-finished X as like an around-the-lot kind of shuttle, because for some reason it's like, well, it's close enough. It's going to work.
And they've been using buses at Giga Texas since the beginning of the construction, or pretty close to that. So.
Yeah,
they haven't changed. They still use school buses, I'm pretty sure.
Except at the very highest heat part of the summer, where they'll bring in chartered buses that are air conditioned.
Nice.
So there's a question: is this Brian's artwork? No, we are in the lobby of the hotel.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah.
There's another question I saw about. Oh, of course, now I can't find it. Oh, for fuck's sake! There we go. Tesla van next year. Let's see. That would be 22 months. That'd be pushing it. I think 22 months is pushing it to get the compact. Oh, thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. Yeah, good. Thank you, Larry. I think and I'm just going to call it the cyber car, because I really do believe we're going to see a lot of design inspiration from the Cybertruck carried over into the compact car because of just the sheer cost efficiencies of it. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I was on what are those Twitter Spaces with I think it was Galley and a couple other people, Holmars. He was, and I still have the question: Is the Cybertruck, is the way Cybertruck, is that the evolution of Tesla? And will we never see a car with paint again? Is that just the way they're going? But I do have to push back on my own thought process, because Elon Musk has mentioned that a truck should be stainless steel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every vehicle should be built that way. But it seems like if it is an evolution of how they're building things, and it is just an easier way to build something in a better way, then maybe every car from now on that we see will be a cyber van, a cyber compact car, cyber this. And that's, to me, is something that no one wants to truly get behind. I think Galley, I pushed him a little and ended up saying yes, that he felt that's it too. But who knows, really? I think that's really the big question. It's like, what are we going to see next? And is it going to be the evolution of Cybertruck?
Yeah, Raymond had a question.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it totally could be.
Raymond said paint is expensive, and that that's in reference to Tom's comment that was not supposed to be disclosed, which is he was asked directly. Tom Zhu was asked directly by one of the guests at the big investor day. Are these cars going to have paint, or are they going to be stainless or ultra hard steel?
Talking about compact?
The compact. And he said, paint is expensive.
Or next gen. They're probably talking about next gen in general.
Yeah. Jeff says best paint is no paint. The paint protective wrap will be able to replace the need for fancy paint. And apparently, and I read this, but I did not see the source, Tesla has confirmed apparently that they will not be doing factory wraps, which is disappointing. I think they could make outrageous margin and do it extremely quickly and offer a warranty. But warranty
maybe after Tesla bot comes, they'll start doing it.
Yeah. Well, and then we were talking. Well, could you automate the process if the panels are flat enough? Could you wrap it automatically? and yeah, just doing it after delivery, then you deal with it.
Sure.
Paint shops are expensive. I asked Sandy Monroe how much a paint shop costs. He said 200, 300, 5, 750 million you can spend or more. You can spend billions on a paint shop. And if we're talking a paint shop for a factory that's going to produce a million compact cars, it's not going to be a million, my friend. It's going to be a number substantially higher than that. Shanghai already makes a million cars, and those are of a much more primitive design philosophy. So it's going to be, they're going to save billions on the paint shop and then thousands on each model. That's how you cut your price. Because and it's how you cut your weight. There's probably 30 pounds of paint on a car. Maybe not that much. Do you think it's that much? It's definitely weight.
Certainly more than a little bit.
It's more than a little bit. Yes. And
Never thought about that.
in the chat, we just saw chromium costs more than paint. So stainless steel has often nickel, chromium, and some other things, palladium, molybdenum, whatever. It's a mix, and it's a bunch of different mixes. And it was my thought that the chromium is a heavy metal. We prefer to avoid that if possible. And nickel is in short supply-ish. When it's in short supply when you figure how much you would need to make millions of something as heavy as a car. And that's why the patent we saw was for ultra hard steel, not stainless steel. But I'd love to see the patent and find out if it discloses enough to make it known what it is. It must disclose what's in it and the ratios, because you could just look it up. You could just sample the metal and find out. So I think that'll be interesting to see what it is. Yeah. So from the event, what are some other things we should discuss about the event, you guys? What do you want us to analyze?
There's a lot. I haven't really gone into it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And Bryan was at Clive Bar with us, and it was very loud. There were jackhammers across the street that made it difficult to hear what was going on. And then also the chatting and the echoing and all that. And also it being 4 hours. Paint in and of itself is not super expensive. The paint shop is. And it's not just the paint shop. It's the extra space. It's the extra distance on the line. It's the extra time. It's the extra cars that are rejected for imperfect paint. It's the rework on paint. And if a car needs to now wait a couple extra days from the time you get the material to the time you sell it, money costs money over time.
Some people buy cars specifically for the color. Some people buy cars because they like that color.
That is 100% true. I saw people saying they were very disappointed that the Midnight Cherry Red and the, what do they call that silver? Metallic.
Yeah, metallic silver.
They said, oh, if those were coming out of Austin, I would trade in my car today.
Yeah.
Well, and Bryan's saying that paint and process is cheap compared to the hybrid steels. And it needs to be something that is resistant to oxidation. That is true. But you can pay a little. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess painting a car, like if we're talking, like if Ford's asking my opinion, it is definitely cheaper for Ford to paint a car than for Ford to invent a new way of making cars. I would agree with that. Let's see. My wife doesn't like the Model Y color. Half the reason she wants the Blazer. Yeah. It's 6 colors and they're boring. What do we got? Gray, silver, black, white, red, blue, right?
Yeah. A lot of people say that. And that's why they say they get them wrapped. That's why Teslas get wrapped more, because we have limited colors.
And also because I think Tesla owners love their cars more than other people.
Totally.
I think that I like several of the colors. The only one I don't like is white. It feels like a rental car color to me, which is funny because I've rented or been in a number of rental Model Ys and none of them have been white.
A reason why I purchased my car used from Tesla was because I liked the blue.
Oh, okay.
It really was. Like, I really liked the red and I would love to have the red, but there wasn't, at the time, it was pretty much the cheapest one. But then because the cheapest one was also not base model white,
right,
and had all the upgrades, it was just another bonus. And I really do like the blue. So
yeah. Was there any mention about how to plan to bend fold the stainless steel? There wasn't, but I asked Sandy this in my first ever big interview on the channel. I said, building the Cybertruck, at this point, is it an engineering challenge or a manufacturing challenge? And he said neither. And this was a year ago. He said bending steel with those angles has been done for 150 years. It is the easiest thing in the world. You could set up a shop that does it very, very quickly, because and getting tolerances right on a curved surface that's curved across several planes, so to speak, like a fender, is tricky. But measuring the angle of a steel brake is you can do it with a protractor.
So what is taking so long, you think, with Cybertruck? Is it like a combination of multiple things, creating something that's never been created before, the production process, battery constrained, or just all of the above?
So we're getting into speculation, but that's where I'm at my best. I would say they believed that 4680s, if the vacuum's too loud, I believe that the 4680s are what held them back. That they were planning to go all in 4680 Cybertruck design, and that the ramp in Cato Road taught them some painful lessons on scaling, and that they don't want to have a 2170 variant of it. They wanted the Model Y on all 4680s by now. I think they wanted the Plaid's Model S and X on 4680s, when those came out quite a while ago now, last year. So I think that's the limiting factor, is they don't have enough batteries to get it going. They did have to wait for the 9,000 ton press, but it is there. So I think that's not it anymore. But I think the rest of it, and I think the steel factory wasn't done yet. Is it online now?
Almost.
So
Dynamics is almost on.
I was asked by a gentleman at the Peterson Auto Museum. He came up to me and he said, where are they gonna make the steel? Is it gonna be at that place in Texas? I said, Steel Dynamics in Sinton. He goes, yeah, are they doing it? I said, they've released several press releases. No, it's not us. He goes, then where are they getting the steel? From them. They're under NDA. We're all, everyone is under non-disclosure agreement, and they haven't, had a chance to, until that's done. Where else would you get it? Who else?
Yeah.
It's a custom-made facility.
And I mentioned on Ride the Lightning,
Yep.
Franz was quoted saying, "We tried a lot of coatings on the Cybertruck to get the final finish."
Oh.
And one of the things that Steel Dynamics specializes in is coated steels.
Okay, so Jeff is saying that
Interesting.
in the Ride the Lightning interview with Franz, where Ryan McCaffrey interviewed Franz, that he was asked about the Cybertruck steel, and Franz said, we tried a bunch of different coatings to get the finish we wanted. And Jeff is saying that Steel Dynamics specializes in coated steel. I had interpreted that statement as we tried a number of, not coatings, but just finishes generally, but I could be wrong. There's a question asked, do we know about the readiness of the 9,000 ton press? And the answer to that is we don't know, because they have blacked out the windows of the casting cathedral because of people very much like us. So
Spying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's public information. If I can look in your window from 250 feet up and 500 feet away,
They gave us
with
permission.
a long lens. They did. In Berlin, they've revoked it.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the solution to that is, once your permission is revoked, you just fly the perimeter, which works.
Well, and people here need to make sure they're not breaking any rules
Right.
or doing anything that would
not
get
burning
us
any
pushed.
bridges.
Yeah.
Because in
Which most people I don't think do, but you never know
Right.
what random person might just show up and
ruin it
fly
for
their
everybody.
drone out there. Yeah.
In Fremont, that almost happened. There was a gentleman, met God in wilderness, who flew right up to the guys at the Cybertruck.
Exactly.
And it was insanity.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah. It was
Now,
a great video though.
It was a great video.
And I know a ton of drone pilots that the way they fly is fly first, ask questions later. In some
Yeah.
situations you have to, but when you're playing around with Tesla, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah. If you were forced to fly the perimeter of Giga Texas, how far around it would your drone make it? Because
I
this
just
is
got the new
2,500
Mavic,
acres.
the Mavic 3.
Yeah?
Has a longer battery life, and I haven't fully tested it out. I don't believe, even flown it at Giga Texas
Okay.
since. I think it would make it.
You think
now the entire perimeter, of the entire
No, I mean
land,
the property line.
Yeah, the property line.
That's a
I don't
big-
think I've ever flown that entire property line in one battery.
No way.
In one
no
flight,
way.
no.
You would have it would have to be a speed race every
It'd have to be
time.
no wind whatsoever.
No wind,
Yeah.
and you'd have to not pause for anything.
And how will the drones be able to lift the long lenses they're going to?
Yeah, and how will the drones lift the long telephoto lens? Question we keep getting. I'm going to angle this a little to get us out of the sun a bit there.
Yeah, get that lighting going.
Yeah, a little better. There we go.
You can see it over.
Is boy, yeah, we'll do what we do. Pricing on Cybertruck. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I don't want to give my true thoughts because if it goes up, that's worse for me. So, it has to go up.
It has to go up.
But I do think they're going to stay competitive. And if you look at the prices that all the other electric trucks are selling for, 60 to 80,000.
So the question was asked,
I think it'll stay in that range, and maybe their lower end could go down to 45 or 50, or at a certain point, maybe not in the beginning,
yeah,
of course, but
I would add to
yeah.
that. The 39,000 to me was always a pipe dream, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. I think that just like the $35,000 Model 3, we're back there. It's happening now. I think at launch, yeah, the numbers, people are saying 79,000. Now, we did get a question, who is this guy? And this is Bryan Roschetzky, a drone pilot who did
here.
how many dozens of flights over Giga Texas. He was
I have no idea.
so many.
Well, there we go.
So this is the little drone.
Can't see it. Yeah.
Can't really see it, but get the idea. And yeah, he's a drone pilot. He's a Austin local. He is a Model 3 owner. He is a Tesla enthusiast.
And I have a few shares.
Average unit sell cost 72 grand at sale. I'm going to hold you to it. If that, it's tough to get good rumors out of the factory, but that's possible.
Sounds about right.
It does. To me, it
agree.
sounds absolutely right. And at launch, it's always going to be more expensive. The
Yeah.
$25,000 car at launch will be $43,000.
Yeah. Look at how much the Model S has dropped over time.
There's people that paid $75,000, $80,000 for launch edition Model 3s.
Wow.
I mean, because I was looking at a chart of average pricing
Yeah.
over time, and early on, people were paying.
And it could still go lower.
Especially
The Model
with-
3 could still go lower in the
Yeah,
future. How do we know in 5 years the Model 3 is not lower, the Model Y is not lower, and then the Cybertruck gets a little lower?
So I
It's
think
possible.
Model 3 will come back as a whole new platform with all the lessons of Gen 3. Because there's all the talk, well, it's going to be the Highland where they're just going to do the front and rear castings and do this. And it's like, that's a good step forward. But I think we need to park the car before we try and change the tire. And,
Do you think there's going to be any differences to the 2023 Model 3?
2023.
Like true differences
Right,
that
like
a customer
fun-
would
oh, yes.
function, customer would care about, someone that isn't, one of us
Right.
would know the difference of this new 2023 model.
I think when they're going that far, all the way down to sub-assembly level, you'd be crazy to not change the sheet
I
metal.
kind of don't think there will be though,
But
because they
I
want there to
said
be
this-
similar parts, less
yeah.
parts. They're trying to make it more efficient, cheaper,
Yeah.
right?
And I said the same thing about the refresh on the Model S. I was just sure it would be a whole new model. I thought it was going to be more like the Taycan, where it looks like the Tesla Roadster 2.0, but in four-door form. And I was wrong. I was mistaken, and I was deeply, deeply disappointed.
It could easily have a different ground effect or like a different
Sure.
front bumper and a
Sure.
rear bumper.
Yeah, the fascias for sure. That's easy and likely. Why wouldn't you? But then again, why? But then I say that about a lot of things.
But is it going to come with hardware 4?
Oh, a refresh
100%.
100%.
Hardware 4.
They're already on the order page. I want to say for X or X. I saw yesterday.
It's supposed to be announced in March. So here we are.
Here we are. It's in March. I think I saw yesterday that somebody screenshotted the order page, and I want to say it was the X is now orderable. But here's the beauty: it's orderable with hardware 4, without ultrasonic, and FSD doesn't work on delivery.
Oh,
It's-
it's a new high def radar, maybe, or that's what they were holding for
maybe.
March. We thought.
Maybe. Will Tesla make their cars? Come on, you bastard. Oh, come on. There we go. Well, less aerodynamic just for aesthetics. No. They would make them less they might make them less aerodynamic if it makes them so much cheaper and easier to build that it makes up for it, but not.
Yeah.
But you know,
I just
I
don't
don't
see why
know.
they would.
I
Like,
mean,
why?
maybe 1% on the margins to make a cooler little flare, but even still, I don't.
On like a refresh model.
Yeah, like a
Sure.
refresh Model 3, give it a little bit of, it's tough to say. We got a comment there. This is so much fun.
I think Franz was trying to shave every bit of aero he could.
Yeah, I don't think that's the reason why they would change the aesthetics of the exterior.
Yeah, and they work on
You
the
know.
body as well for aero. I mean, they're working every angle.
Yeah.
So John Bay says, I still think it's a magical myth how they change production every single day. Jeff and I had a chance to talk with a factory worker who knows? Somebody could even be in this chat today. Who knows? We asked, is it true that they make big changes all the time? And he said, and I said, do they actually take your advice? He said, not take it. They require it. Because if you're not suggesting improvements, you think the process is perfect, and the process is not perfect. It can always be improved. Help us improve it. Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. So, yeah. And then we got more. I just keep losing the... Be nice if the chat just stayed up.
Or had a bigger screen.
Tech Fixer, the Model 3 is already a middle-class thing. Yes, sir. Strive to be less wrong every day. Yeah, that would be... I'd like to do that someday, but being less wrong requires a substantial amount of work, so I don't know, man. I'm not sold on
That's
it.
how you learn sometimes, is being wrong.
Yeah, new production techniques will be at the new factory first, at least a couple years. That's right. We do know that. That was said in the Investor Day. And I can't expect you guys to know everything in the Investor Day because I don't know everything in it because it was 4 hours long. Yeah.
I fell asleep trying to watch it.
I almost did, but I was at the Clive Bar, so it was not the best idea.
Too, but I mean, when
Sure, no, I was up there at the...
hotel room and I was
Does the back half of the glass of the Cybertruck look curved? The back half. Do you mean the top? To me,
No, I don't, yeah.
To me, the windshield now looks slightly curved.
Sure, both.
The side windows
way.
look slightly curved. And the reason you do that is to prevent glare. So you're not blinding people.
Interesting.
But the back half,
that looks
I don't know. I haven't looked at it closely enough to say.
Will it have a mid-gate? Is still, come on.
I'm telling you, it's not going to have a
I know,
mid-gate.
I know.
Because that's where the tonneau goes.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Neither does Chevy yet.
and neither does Chevy yet.
They
Let's
have
see if I
it.
can
We
get
haven't seen it.
Sure,
that
the
The Silverado.
Silverado, yeah.
Will Tesla build another vehicle factory building at Giga Texas? There is no plan for that, but I mean, maybe at some point. Why wouldn't they? If they want to, if it makes sense. But no, I think, and they did say they will be building 2 factories. So I'm very curious.
See a lot of tents.
Well, first you'll see, there's sprung structures.
Agile
Uh-huh.
tents will start popping up.
How do that? It looks sunny. There's snowflakes here. Oh, yeah.
It's warm outside.
Right, because John Bay's in Oregon on the
Yeah,
coast
I
there.
have plants growing in my backyard already. Like, I have citrus trees flowering, bees are out. Yeah, it's green and warm, trees are coming out. It's crazy to think that it's crazy snowstorm not that far
Yeah.
away from us.
Bill wants to know, where's the unannounced factory? Indonesia? Canada? Yeah. And do cars built in Mexico qualify for the tax credit? Yes, it's not NAFTA. What do we call it? The USA Patriot Act.
Sure.
Yes. So the rules are, it has to be built in the US. It has to be built in North America. Mexico's in North America. The battery needs to be built in North America. Got it. The pack. Got it. And the last element is the minerals are supposed to be mined either in America or a free trade country. And even though Mexico has free trade agreements with like 50 countries, the US only has it with like 17 or 18, but we can get minerals from those countries.
Where's Tesla currently getting most of their minerals in for that credit?
What?
Where
Oh,
was Tesla currently, or where are they
so
currently
they're getting the credit
minerals?
now because the rules weren't clear and they hadn't set up a system by which to validate where the minerals came from. So where are the minerals coming from now? I would assume the lithium is from like Chile and the nickel is probably
And that's why they
from-
probably want to really get that Corpus Christi lithium plant up.
That is, but they didn't know about it. This is further evidence that Elon is a time traveler. Let's see. I saw a good one on here.
Well, if they need to do it either way, plus they're going
Oh.
to be getting that benefit
And
and
I'll-
get
yeah.
it going. Yeah.
So imagine it's a $25,000 car with a $7,500 buyer incentive. Your state might have another $2,000 to $7,000 on top of that. In Oregon, that car would already be 10 grand,
And if there's a van, $7,500 off that.
right?
Was that possible, right? What about Cybertruck? We don't hear that much. Is that $7,500 off Cybertruck?
Up to $80,000, I think.
80,000 the limit, so
And it should
So maybe
absolutely
not in the
be.
beginning.
No, well, 79, and
Yeah.
it doesn't.
He
and-
would do something
and
like
the
that.
autonomy,
they would.
or soft limit the battery in a way that you could unlock it next week. They did that in Canada, where they sold super short range ones just to get under the limit, and then the next day you slap in the credit card and they unlock the battery.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So it's up to 80,000, and they could absolutely do that. And the software package does not count towards that price. So if you spend $79,999 and get a $15,000 self-driving package on it, it still counts. So we are going to only go probably another 5 minutes here. What are your thoughts on the motors without rare earth elements? Excited. It makes them cheaper and easier to make. It makes the supply chain easier. China controls so much of the refinement and extraction of those materials that they kind of get you over barrel, and let's get away from that. What do you think?
I had a speculation when they started to announce the Model S plaid motors and then later announced that the Semi would have the Model S plaid motors. I started to think then that, okay, when they come out with a compact car, they're probably going to redesign the motor to benefit the compact car, right? They don't need it to be like how they redesigned the motor to be like for the Plaid. They need to redesign it to be less minerals, more efficient, lighter, all those kind of things. And I still feel like they're going to have another iteration of a motor when the compact car comes out that's going to blow everyone away on how light it is, how small it is, and how efficient it is. Because that's going to be another increase of being able to get the compact car with less batteries at the price range they want, all those kind of things.
I would agree with all that. And a mind-blowing new battery development, we're talking 10% improvement is at this point, because electric motors have been around so long, that 10% efficiency gain is, if you can get 3, you're going to be doing
Did
huge.
they said 10?
No.
Oh, sure.
No,
sure.
but I'm just trying to temper expectations.
Yeah.
There are people who are like, I'm going to be able to drive with just a single solar panel, and it'll give me enough. It's like, there aren't enough photons.
Yeah, it's like the same thing we talked about with the cell phone. Like everyone used to have a mobile phone, but it never really took off because it was so large. And it wasn't any one of the pieces in the cell phone that allowed Apple to make the iPhone. It wasn't any one part of it. It wasn't because the battery got smaller. It was because every single part became more precisely manufactured, smaller, more efficient, and all of those working together. And that's exactly what Tesla's doing, is making every single part of the car more efficient, better. They're not sticking to any one thing. They're keeping their eyes on the ball in every single part of the car and making every part more efficient, easier to manufacture. And
one of my favorite takeaways, and I mentioned this on Tesla Herbert's channel the other day, was that it's not enough that Tesla is a good manufacturer of cars, but that they're vertically integrated and they've got everything in-house that they reasonably can. And when it comes to something that they can't reasonably bring in-house, they send their engineers to your office to refine your process and your procedure to get your parts cheaper, better, and more consistent. And that is not a thing that is widely done, certainly in the auto industry at this point. So that's pretty crazy. Let's see.
like, I'm surprised they had an entire section about how much weight they reduced off just the screen of the Model 3.
Oh, TechFixer says, I gotta admit it, I get a bit upset how much you dismiss storage. I don't. I love it. Storage is, I make whole videos on it on the main channel. I've got a video called Tesla's 27, I don't remember if it was billion or trillion, but bet on energy.
And the more energy Tesla puts out into the grid, the cheaper electricity can become over time, and the cheaper the cost of ownership for every single Tesla owner, right? So like the cheaper he can get everyone's electricity to be cheaper, or the faster he can get everyone's electricity to be cheaper, the faster every person with an electric car benefits from that.
A battery.
The quicker we can get to Tony Seba's
Tony Seba.
As quicker we can get to the inflection point.
Because most people still are under the assumption that everything on Earth gets more expensive over time, which most everything does, but that's like to the exception of how most things are transported on or in our country mostly, right, is by semi-truck. So the cheaper we can get electricity, the cheaper we can get transportation, cheaper, everything becomes cheaper because almost everything is transported in a semi-truck.
If you look at the cost, it's interesting to see how manufacturing and distribution has improved over the last 40 years. If you go online, you can find old Sears catalogs from 30, 40 years ago. And I have done this and look at the cost. Do you know how much a Hot Wheels car is? You've got kids. How much you pay?
I just got my windows tinted, and the guy gave me a free one. So I don't know. I got a free one.
About
$1. $1.
Yeah, $1.
They're $1.
Do you know how much they were in the 70s?
I'm going to have to say
the same Hot Wheels car.
10 cents.
Nope, they were $1. They were $1. Because the manufacturing has gotten that much better. The distribution has gotten that much better. And if you look at the Sears catalog, in the 80s, a shirt was $40. Just a plain shirt, just a nice, normal button-up shirt was $30, $40. And I wouldn't pay that today. And TVs, technology. I mean, don't even. I made an article once on a site I had where I went through a Radio Shack catalog and said, how many of these pages are on your cell phone? How many of these are your cell phone today? And the answer was something like, there was only maybe 15 pages left that weren't apps. And phones couldn't get small until the perfect storm, the confluence of all the technology landing at the same time. And phones just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller until they realized, oh, there's websites I like to look at on my phone. And then the screen started getting bigger and bigger and bigger because of those websites. So that's always interesting. I think that's about it. I'm always struggling to keep the chat showing. Yeah. Hello, Mega Wilderness. Hello, JJ. Yeah.
What is my opinion on Nikola?
Yeah.
You really want me to give an opinion on Nikola at this point?
Yes. JJ believes in Nikola. He believes in hydrogen.
I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way to see how many times Nikola lies to people and
So the lying days are behind them. When Trevor left, it's behind them. The days they're in now are the cash burn days when it's when it's proving very difficult.
I almost feel this way, not just about Nikola, but about all startups now. I'm just highly what's the word here I'm looking for?
Skeptical?
I'm very skeptical of all startups now. And it's not just because maybe I feel they had bad intentions. Like I feel like some of them they're trying hard, but it just doesn't seem like a lot of them are going to make it. So until someone shows me a product and it's there physically in front of me and, you can buy it, I'm just very skeptical. I'm even skeptical of Aptera, and I love Aptera. I absolutely love Aptera the most, but I'm starting to worry that it's been this long. We still don't see one. Sono Motors. Have you ever heard of Sono Motors? They're a company that's trying to bring a car with solar panels all over it.
Oh.
Where is it? Still not here.
Yeah.
Lightyear, another company. Love it. $250,000. I think they're dying too. So it's unfortunate because I want the transition to accelerate as well. But it seems like at this point, Tesla's our only hope.
Yeah, I have confidence. So there is a second runner-up, and I asked Sandy who's going to be number 2 in 10 years, and without hesitation, he said BYD. Because BYD does develop their own chips. They do have their own in-house software development. They've got buses already running in LA. And they've got
cars in LA.
and their own. They make their own batteries.
Yeah. When are any Chinese companies going to be able to sell EVs in America.
There's
That's
a
going to be crazy.
28% import tax. So the answer is,
Right.
as soon as they build a factory,
Hold them back
which is
right
why
now. Okay.
VinFast is building a factory now. I don't know if they're also subject
Probably a
to
world trade
to the-
lawsuit.
So what do these Chinese companies have limiting them building a factory here?
nothing. There's
Okay.
nothing. There's no reason they wouldn't. They just haven't. And BYD could afford to, and I assume that they are absolutely going to.
But their cars wouldn't get any sort of tax credit from this
Sure, it
bill.
will. If they build it here,
Buses in LA.
So if they build the vehicles here, that parts of some of like minerals are here, even though they're not an American company.
Correct.
I mean, Volkswagen or these other companies aren't truly American companies
right?
either. So
Right, and they're gonna. Well, neither is Chrysler.
Yeah,
It's
they're Italian.
Stellantis. That's an Italian company.
Stellantis.
Yeah, so they would absolutely qualify, and that's why Audi has announced they're building a plant here. I think Volvo has announced they're building
A
maybe,
lot of announcements.
and BMW's got an electric plant going in Monterrey, Mexico. So they'll be rubbing elbows. I'm going to start looking this week to find a drone pilot in Monterrey who I can hire. I mean, if you want to drive down, man,
Yeah.
you want to
Get your
drive down.
passport.
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems like a bit of a trek, but I want to get someone down there once a week to shoot.
Why
for
couldn't
me.
they have made it in Canada?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Up in Banff?
yeah, and John May saying Lucid does have a lot of cash, and that's the problem is on all these startups, can you survive long enough to get profitable? And when it comes to Lucid and Rivian and Lordstown and Aptera, and again, I also love Aptera, but I am deeply concerned that, like, I also loved Arcimoto, and they're still sending me press releases, and I'm like, really? Because it's over, guys. It is absolutely over.
I feel it's possible that a lot of these companies could also be waiting for Tesla to open up their charging network, because a lot of people know how bad the public charging network is.
Yeah.
And when you're driving a less expensive EV, sure, one or two doesn't work, no big deal. But when you're this Lucid driver that I saw at Electrify America, you're driving a Lucid and you're on the phone with customer service because the thing won't charge. And now I've seen that same charger was down for almost a month.
Yeah.
They were redoing the whole thing, and it's one of the main chargers here in Austin. And it seems like there was always that talk of the manufacturers don't want to build more EVs because they don't have the charging network to support it. The charging network doesn't want to expand because they don't have this, and we even have the tax credit now. But it seems like once Tesla opens up the chargers to everyone, it'll just be instantly that like everyone knows that this will work perfectly for them, and they can go full steam ahead and not have any customers worrying about that.
So TechFixer a minute ago said you have to sell cars people want, but that's yes. The real problem is the price. Tesla has always had the philosophy that we cannot sell a car where we're losing money on a per unit basis. We can lose money because the CapEx and OpEx and R&D are killing us, but each unit has to. They wanted to sell the Model S at, I think, 60 at launch.
They did sell it at 60.
They had a
49,000.
yeah.
They never quite.
The 49,000 was what they wanted to
a few of those
produce,
were made, yeah.
and those were and they're like, we just can't do it. We can't lose money on every unit, because then the more units you make, the more money you lose, and that's the problem Rivian is having. Is their build cost is 248% of retail.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, thank you for subsidizing my truck purchase. And like you said with the chargers, if Zach and Jesse from Now You Know can't keep the gosh darn thing running, those guys know how to. I mean, there are few people with more expertise
Rivian
on.
got bricked in the cold.
Got bricked in the cold. The Rivian
Lost too much battery.
lost too much battery, and I think it did it to them twice.
2 to 12% per day is what the Rivian engineer
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And it seems like Amazon doesn't have that problem with their vans, even though they have Rivian
Rivian.
vans. But that's because Amazon. You ever seen that picture? There's a picture Amazon has like just hundreds and hundreds of personal chargers.
Yeah.
So they don't worry. They like even the Amazon. They're not using the public charging network. They have their own. They
Yeah.
do their route. They come back. They charge at Amazon.
And they charge
And it
more
makes
than
sense
I
because
Probably
the-
a cheaper electricity rate too.
The Rivian trucks charging at night makes sense because you don't have to put in superchargers. you just put in a 220, and that's enough to, because it is going to be there
Yeah.
all
But
night.
personal use of vehicles isn't that way. Personal use of vehicles is like I'm going on a road trip and I'm going to try to
Right.
get there as quick as I can. And there's going to be times when my battery's going to be low. And there's going to be times when I park somewhere and the battery's going to be low.
Especially an adventure vehicle.
Well, an
Yeah,
adventure
yeah.
vehicle,
Well,
Jeff
Rivian's
says,
are big.
especially in Rivian's an adventure vehicle. Here's an adventure. I would like to do this. Maybe Brian should join me. We should make a buddy comedy road movie out of it. We should do a cross-country trip in a Nissan Leaf. And I mean like a 2013.
You're in the Nissan Leaf. I'm in my Tesla.
There are stretches. I mean, first of all, it would take very careful planning, and I
Okay,
assume we
okay.
would have to charge at people's houses.
I literally sold my Kia Soul EV to Tesla to get my Tesla because I was done with that scenario.
Oh, so
Yeah.
so wait, the Kia Soul
Yeah,
EV
I
was
gave it to
not
Tesla.
as good as the Model 3?
Yeah, I said,
Well, now
Tesla, y'all have
I've
it.
heard everything.
Recycle the
What was the
batteries.
range on it?
So the Kia Soul EV, when I first got it, had about 100 to 110 miles. I got an update about a year or so into it, which gave it to like 110 to 125 miles. But then later we hear, what did they do? They just increased the size of the usability of the battery, decreased the size of the battery like buffers, right?
Oh my god!
Right? That's what the update was, I believe. And so what happened? Over
Now you're
time,
killing your
it
faster.
degraded the battery faster. And then I got to the point to where I had about 65 to 70 miles of range. And that was like at midsummer when it became, or not midsummer, but when it was warm
Yeah, when
after
it was
winter.
optimal.
Yeah, and my driving habits didn't change. You know, I was trying to drive super efficient, and it was still, it was just not enough. Like if it had 150, 160
Right.
miles and then degraded down to 100 or 110, it would still be great.
Yeah.
But like once you get below 100 miles of range, it becomes just not that great unless you had a Tesla supercharger on every corner, which it was a Chatamo.
But even-
you know,
but even-
Chatamo was
yeah.
like very slim findings.
Going down
And going down.
So yeah.
And especially in Texas.
And I was
100
not going to
100
buy a
miles
gas car.
is-
And you know, we talked about it previously. Someone mentioned it on the comment that, you know, Teslas have finally reached what did he call it, middle class.
Yep.
If I'm even considered middle class, that's, you know, one thing, because I can it's on the border of should I had budgeted this car in. I just had a baby. I got a 7-year-old as well. And yeah, that's me. I can barely afford this thing, but I knew that if I purchased any other vehicle over the next 4 or 5 years, I would be wasting a lot more money on other things outside of that vehicle. So the money that I give for my vehicle goes straight to Tesla. As long as I can pay my car payment, I know that everything's handled. And you know,
Right.
to me, it's a lot easier that way. And the amount I saved on road trips or driving is it totally outweighs it.
Right. What range is enough for a Tesla compact? It depends on the market. I'd say, well, 2 to 250.
I was going to
would-
say 150 technically.
I would say,
you know, what's
yeah.
technically enough is one thing, and what a consumer is actually going,
150
you
is a
know,
great city
150 is a great city car for Europe, for
I don't
A-
think
for
it will
Asia.
be, but
I
I
don't
think
think it
it's,
will be
it's
150.
you don't need more really.
No, I think over 200, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's only barely over 200.
Sure.
One thing I did want to point out is we are getting some positive feedback on the interaction between the Bryans,
Okay.
and I.
Why
so,
not I?
Right. So
Yeah.
if we need to do this more often, you know, let us know, because I was only planning on going 20, 30 minutes, but we're having a good time. And then around 40, we said maybe we'll wrap it up. And I mean, I'm still feeling great here.
You know, what if on the compact car,
What if
They
on the
put the
compact car
semi-gearing
they put
in,
the
so you get an
semi-gearing in,
overdrive
so you
on
get
a
an
small motor.
overdrive on a small motor,
extends your
and
range
extends your range?
because the overdrive is on the semi.
I
That gearing system is on between the axles.
I don't know. I don't think you'd need an overdrive, but
Yeah, like is that
well,
is
Brian
that
spells his
specifically
name
because
right.
of the weight?
Don't know.
And if it is, then maybe
I
not.
think that
if
had to
it's,
do more with coasting efficiency.
Oh, okay. I think it's the range myself because I always figured.
I thought it was the extra weight,
Hmm.
so that because of the extra weight, they needed that to really get you going. But then once you got the weight momentum going, you don't need that amount of power to keep you going.
cruise
Right.
is a
Yeah.
lot less energy,
Yeah.
but if you can put it in a higher gear too, you can just push the motor with almost no.
Anything's
energy.
possible.
So I don't know. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
So the it's so a question was, can you comment on charging speeds? Are these likely to improve much? And I believe the answer is, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. The there are, you can already get to 250. You can already get a little past 250
I think once.
in the S's and X's already.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Elon Musk said that he's 1 megawatt charging for every new vehicle made, right?
Did he?
I'm pretty
He
sure.
joked about 350 being child's play.
I thought he said-
joked about 350.
I thought he
being
said
child's play.
after even Cybertruck will have 1 megawatt charging, right?
I
I'm
think,
pretty sure
yeah,
he
I don't
said
know.
every vehicle from now on
I
will
think-
be made with at least 1 megawatt charging.
I think we've got some work to go on chemistry durability before we can get there. 300 miles is more than the Model 3 rear-wheel drive. Well, the new models all have the 1,000-volt system. I think they would have a 48-volt
48 volt.
system.
I think they're talking about the 400-volt battery.
Oh, the batteries for charging. I don't know. I don't know.
doubt
That's too far in the future for me to work to spend the time researching. Model 3 regularly charges at 253 kilowatts when it's below 20% state of charge. And yeah, the higher charging will absolutely come. And it's just a question of when the chemistry can competently, capably handle it without damage.
Sure. And for most scenarios, we don't really even need higher
I
charging, to be
enjoy
honest.
road tripping in a Tesla because I like to stretch my legs every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I love chatting with the people at the chargers, and then I go into Buc-ee's or Pilot or Travel.
Paris Ranch.
I actually have a sciatic
or-
nerve
the Bunny
issue. I have like a
Ranch.
back
What?
problem where I physically
Harris Ranch.
have to get up
Oh, yeah.
and move. And if I sit too long, it actually becomes a painful problem.
It makes a long drive so much better because I was always the guy who would just power through, and then you get there and you're just dead. You're just exhausted.
And one thing, everyone here in Texas loves going to Buc-ee's. That's like our favorite gas station. And the one experience that I had of going to Buc-ee's and charging at the Buc-ee's Tesla supercharger instead was that, my wife had gone inside to take the baby or to take my 7-year-old inside. They took so long going inside that the car's done charging and I have to move now. And so I moved to go under the shade, which was blocking a gas station. And my experience then was that this stinks and this is horrible and I need to move my car somewhere else. Yeah. And yeah, I think that over time, people will realize that the experiences here is better in every way. And there's so many experiences that you're going to get with an electric car or Tesla that, yeah, there's so many things people aren't thinking of yet.
Fun fact, how many Buc-ee's locations are there in total, everywhere?
28?
50.
Okay, I was thinking that actually.
Yeah,
It's round number. Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I briefly interviewed a general manager of a location for about a minute and a half before he pointed to the camera and said, "I'm not actually allowed to be on camera, so you can contact corporate, but please don't use the footage. You can use the information, just not the footage." So here's a picture of him. No, I'm just kidding.
But Buc-ee's is planning on rolling out more superchargers, right? I heard there's one like in Katy, Texas coming, and interesting.
exciting. So awesome. Okay, well, an hour is good enough, I think. What do we miss or misunderstand in the comments? If you want to see more of these, you got to tell me because I don't know. I'm so sunburnt. I don't, with the camera you can't really tell, but I am crispy. We had a great time. I've got so much footage coming from Texas, and maybe I'll. And today I get to sleep on the plane. Said everyone who never sleeps on the plane. So what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't. It's killing me. I'm dying without the subscribers. I'm on
subscribe.
death watch. And Matt, thanks as always to the patrons who get early access, bonus content. Sometimes get to sit next to me while I'm shooting these things. You never know.
And you can find me at Bryan Roschetzky, YouTube, or Roschetzky Photography for most of all my other social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram.
I think after this ends, we'll pop into the description and get the link for Bryan on
It'll be
those.
somewhere.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
And yeah. So stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots when I'm done with all this travel.
There you go.
Fuck, man.